Stacy, writer of the Blake Hill House blog and co-host of True Tales from Old Houses, the podcast. And I am here to show you how to do a window jamb restoration. Just a word before we get started. This project took place over several days, which is why I will look different. I may occasionally be wearing the same outfit because that is just the way I roll. When you start the window restoration process, I encourage you to work on the jamb first. That allows your paint or varnish or polyurethane, whatever you're using, the longest amount of cure time before you put your sashes back in. If you don't allow enough time to cure, those sashes will stick to the jamb, ruin your paint job, and you'll be very disappointed with the outcome. Like most restoration projects, it starts out the same. Clean it, remove all the old paint, and then we add in the steps of putting in new sash cords and doing any pulley maintenance that we might need to do. So I'm going to show you first where we should remove the paint. It's always tricky with these small cameras and big windows, but you can see the line here. This part is exposed to the exterior when the upper sash is in. And on this side, this upper section is exposed when the lower sash is in place. The goal is to get rid of most of that paint so that you can start fresh with new paint and primer, or maybe it's polyurethane or shellac that you're using at your house. If you can start fresh, then you'll have less buildup, all the dirt will be gone, and hopefully that means your sashes will not stick in the jamb when you try to open and close them. Let's talk about the parts of the window real quick. This part here that you would set a plant on maybe, or something decorative, most of us call that the sill, but the actual name is the stool. Now, I'm not going to give you a hard time if you continue to call it the sill. Not a problem for me. The actual sill of a window is this interior part that slopes out so that moisture can run off. Underneath the stool down here, this is called the apron. I've already done a lot of work on this sill there. You can see where I've removed a bunch of paint. Right now it's very dirty, so I need to vacuum that all out. It's really a good idea. That area of the window, when you have house painters, they just keep painting over and over and over it. Sometimes, I mean, you can get up to maybe a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch worth of thick paint. And that eventually will prevent the meeting rails of your top and bottom sash from being in line so that you can lock the window. So we're going to take that all out of there. I'm going to show you, actually I'm going to go to a different room and show you an example of one of those windows with really thick paint on the sill. This window in my dining room is a really good example. There's a lot of really thick paint on there, including on this little bit of hardware here, which was probably there to either keep the storm window in or maybe even to latch the shutters. Now it is a little difficult to see, but there is about a 1/8 of an inch problem here where these two don't line up, and that's probably because of all the thick paint that the bottom sash is resting on. As far as what to use to remove the paint, I'll leave that up to you. I'm going to use an infrared paint remover as well as something called the Pro Scraper attached to my HEPA vac. You may not have those tools, so you can use a regular chemical stripper or maybe a more natural-based soy or citrus stripper, and they'll work great. They just might take a little bit longer. Whichever stripper you choose, make sure you know what neutralizes that so you can clean all of the stripper off of the wood. Otherwise, your coating, paint, varnish, shellac, whatever, may not adhere properly. It's time for my safety talk. Know and understand all the precautions you should take in case there's lead paint somewhere in your jamb or in your house. Do not rely on this video to provide you all of the safety instructions that you'll need to be lead safe. Each tool and situation will be different, so make sure you read all the instruction manuals and read up on lead safety protocol to make the safest choices for you and your family. take a closer look at these pulleys. These pulleys are called press fit, and I'm working on them in place because trying to remove this type of pulley can cause more damage than it's worth. Since my house is no longer this color, I dabbed on some chemical stripper with a Q-tip because my infrared paint remover doesn't work on metal. At your house, you may have pulleys that secure with 2 screws. And if that's true, you can take those screws out, remove the pulley, and do a little bit of maintenance on it outside of the window jamb. Both types of pulleys are really common. I really waffled back and forth on what to do with my jamb, whether I should paint it or stain it or use spar urethane. And that's kind of a personal choice. And you can make decisions that are right for your house. But ultimately, I decided on the following. I'll point it out to you. The exterior stop, I painted with exterior paint. I also painted this section here that will be below the top sash. I painted it with exterior paint. And then I did all of this upper portion with my interior latex paint. Actually, it's a modern alkyd, so it's a hybrid, acts a lot like, or mimics an oil paint a lot. And it's the same color as my trim. And then I ended up doing my sill a darker color because then all of the dirt and debris will be less noticeable. Now that all the paint is dry in the jambs, I'm going to turn my attention to the pulleys, and after that we can put some new ropes on the sash weights. We talked about these press fit pulleys before, and I removed the paint, and now I'm just going to give them a little bit of lubricant to make sure that they will spin very well without hanging up or making any scratching noises. Sometimes when you turn them, you'll hear a grinding noise or knocking, or they might even be stiff and not turn at all. I like to use a lubricant with a straw. Shoot a little in there, exactly where I need it, instead of all over the place. And then my pulley wheel should turn quite freely. If your pulley wheel is bent or kind of out of shape, these press fit pulleys, since we're not going to take them out, you can bend them back into place with a little pair of pliers. Just be careful so that you don't end up breaking it. The last task is to replace the sash weight ropes. It's a very straightforward job, but it is a little dirty. So what I do is I keep a clean pair of gloves, and I use these gloves to handle the new rope, anything if I have to touch my paint, anything like that. And then I keep a separate pair of gloves, and I use those to handle those very dirty sash weights and the old ropes. The sash weights are located in these little pockets. I've done all the preliminary work. There's usually one screw, it's a slotted screw. You're just gonna unscrew that and pull the door right off. And there should be, for double hung windows, you should find 2 cast iron weights back there. Right, I'm gonna slip on my dirty gloves, and I'm gonna reach in there and pull out that sash weight. I've put a paper sack down here so that I can lay the weight right on it and I won't get my fresh paint dirty. Oof. Lots of debris and dirt comes out of here. These cast iron sash weights can be quite heavy and long, and sometimes it takes a little maneuvering, little patience to get them out of the pocket. According to these Roman numerals, I have 2 7-pound weights and an 8. I'm missing an 8. The heavier one goes with the upper sash so that the sash doesn't slip down a little bit, and the lighter ones go with the lower sash, making it easier to lift up and pull down. I'm going to create a chase out of this small jack chain. I like this style of chain better than the individual loops because it's less likely to get hung up on anything that's stuck in the weight pocket. It may not make sense quite yet, but I will show you how we're going to use it. I'm going to take a piece of tape, painter's tape usually. It doesn't really matter what kind as long as it's good and sticky. Take a nice length off of there. And then I'm going to attach my chain to my new sash cord tightly, end to end. I need to keep that narrow so you don't want your tape and where you've attached it to become a big lump because sometimes that can get stuck too. But you definitely want it tight enough that you don't risk your chain falling off into your weight pocket. Some of those weight pockets go all the way down to the ground, so you might never see your poor little chain again. All right, let me show you how this works. My chase is super long. I keep a nice long piece because you never know what size window you're going to be working on. At least I don't in my house. We're always going to put the upper weight in first because that is the weight, or that weight tucks back in the pocket behind the lower sash weight. So I'm going to take my chain, and it takes a little bit to get started, but I'm going to start feeding it, feeding it through the pulley. That's why you need to have a chain that is not wider than your rope. And as that gets going, it gets really easy to feed through. And when it gets down low enough, I'm going to stick my hand in the weight pocket, and then I'm going to pull it through and then feed my rope over the pulley wheel. I'm going to do it up close to show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to pull the camera way back so you can get a full view of what's happening here. Struggled a little with setting up this shot, so I could show you how to do this rope, but I'm going to try. You're going to go through this hole in your sash weight, around behind, and down through here. That's going to make a really strong knot, especially when your weight is pulling on it, but it also makes it very easy to untie if you need to replace a sash cord at another time. I'm going to tie it once more really slowly, okay? And there you have it. At this point, you can take your chase off your rope. My upper portion, the upper part of the rope is still attached here. If you have a length of cord that you're using, put a quick, simple knot at the top near the pulley so that it won't slide back down in the pocket and you'll have to start all over again. Just a quick reminder that we're going to start with the heavier weight for the upper sash because that weight tucks back here into the pocket. To put it back in the sash weight pocket, I'm going to pick it up with my gloved hand, the one I'm using for dirty projects, slide it back into the pocket, kind of pull on that rope to pick up some of the weight. And since this weight goes to the upper sash, I'm going to tuck it back as far as it will go. I still have all this rope hanging here. So I'm going to cut it off shorter, add a small, simple knot, and we'll worry more about lengths when it's time to reinstall our sashes. I'm short an 8-pound weight. I'm gonna have to go to architectural salvage at some point and pick up a second weight, but I'll show you what that left side looks like. I'm gonna cut it off about the length of my sash weight, actually, just with a utility knife. And then I'm gonna put a little loose knot up here, just something simple and easy, so my rope doesn't end up feeding back to the pulley, and then I have to fish it out all over again. Thank you for watching today's video. I would love it if you would like and subscribe to my channel for more old house content. And if you're interested in any of the supplies that I used in this video, I have linked them all below. I will see you next time.